Good afternoon, everybody. I'm excited to see that you joined us for the first webinar in our Evidence-Based Practices for SEL series this month. My name is Beth Herman. I'm with the Department of Public Instruction. And this webinar series came out of multiple questions we've been receiving from the field looking for more information about good evidence-based SEL programs. As a local control state, we really believe in the ability of local communities to decide the best programs for them, but to do that you need a lot of information. So this webinar series kicking off today is to provide you with that. So today is going to be an introduction, an overview of the Second Step program. Joining us from Committee for Children is Yvette Braddock, and I will turn the presentation over to her in a moment, but I just want to give you a few particulars. So at this point, everybody's going to be muted, but if you have any questions that you would like me to make sure we get to Yvette, please feel free to type them in the chat box. I will be monitoring the chat box. We have time reserved at the end of the session in order to ask questions, and in that case, you can either send them through the chat box or you can unmute yourself. If you can't unmute yourself, you can raise your hand and I can unmute you. So that you can actually ask some questions of Yvette regarding the program. I encourage you to do so. This is your opportunity to find out as much as you can about this particular program so that you can see if it's the best fit for your community. So please feel free to ask Yvette questions. She's very nice and very open to answering them. Also, so you know, this will be recorded, so if you're joining but you're hoping other folks from your school or your team can see this, we will post these on the website where the alignment tool is for Second Step, and you will be able to access this then as soon as it's posted. Just to let you know that these webinars are an extension of the programs that have agreed to do an alignment tool with our social emotional learning competencies in Wisconsin. So all of the programs that you will see in this series, including this one on Second Step today, you are able to find an alignment tool on the website that will allow you to see where the intersection between the program and the SEL competencies for Wisconsin align. So Yvette, are you on?
I am here. Thank you for that introduction, Beth.
I'll turn it over to you so you can share your screen and we're ready to roll.
Sounds great. Well, good afternoon to everyone. It's still morning here. I'm really excited to join you all and have you all join me today to learn more about the Second Step program. So I want to thank you for your time, and today we'll be addressing social emotional learning in Wisconsin. And then, of course, learn about more specifically about the Second Step program. We really, truly are honored to have been invited by Beth Herman and the team at the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction to provide you with information on our Second Step social emotional learning program for pre-K up to 8th grade. As you know, we will have an opportunity for Q&A towards the end, but do feel free to type those questions in the chat box during the presentation, and I will do my best to address those towards the end. And as Beth mentioned, this presentation will be recorded for you to revisit at any time. All right, so the agenda for today, we'll talk a little bit about social emotional learning in the state of Wisconsin, what's happening and how that's going to relate to the Second Step program and the support that we can offer you. I'll provide a little bit of a history of Committee for Children. For those of you that are not familiar of our organization and our programming, we'll talk a little bit about the what and the why of social emotional learning. And then we'll dig right into the Second Step program content, resources for early learning up to 8th grade. I'll share with you some resources that we have available, and then of course have an opportunity for Q&A. So my name is Yvette Braddock. Thank you again for the introduction, Beth. And I am one of the Education Partnerships Manager who handles the Midwest Central part of the state. And I work with our clients to provide best practices around social emotional learning. I'm very much excited to be able to bring my 12 years of background in education to the work that I do today in supporting your role in effective implementation and strategic planning in a way that is sustainable and comprehensive. And it really is truly an exciting time for educators in Wisconsin. Increasingly, educators were finding that deliberate and explicit instruction in SEL improves the classroom environment, academic achievement, and students' future employability. And now the resources to provide this instruction are available in one location through the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction, as shown on this page. In 2018, the agency launched the Social and Emotional Learning Competencies. It's a guide for incorporating these practices into lesson plans, using them as part of the classroom management, and then infusing them in your school culture. So the website also includes resources on what SEL is, how this learning intersects with character development, technology, and then before and after school programs, as well as provide support for teachers and other adults. So there's a tremendous amount of resources available on the DPI page under SEL for your review, as you can see on this image that is taken from the website, part of which includes information on programs, alignment of second step to the Wisconsin SEL competencies, and along with other evidence-based SEL curriculum. Guides to gauge and prioritize your implementation of SEL to be more intentional, alignments to the CASEL's core competencies, and more. 2018 was also the first SEL conference that we were fortunate enough to be a part of and look forward to continuing to be. It's a great opportunity to collaborate with your associates and other key stakeholders to learn more about SEL best and effective practices. So please do stop by if you're planning to attend in Wisconsin this year, as we will be there representing again. Today we will spend time talking about SEL via second step in hopes of continuing to expand our efforts in supporting districts and schools in the Wisconsin area. So before we get started on today's topic, just a little bit about Committee for Children. We are a nonprofit based in Seattle, Washington, with a mission to foster the safety and well-being of children through social emotional learning. We're pioneers leading the field with our uniquely comprehensive approach. We use solid research and connections to experts in the field to bring resources to schools and districts that make a true difference in the lives of students, schools, and communities. We also play a role in advocacy work, helping pass policies and legislation to support SEL, bullying prevention, and child protection, both at the state and the federal level. Founded in 1979 to help victims of child sexual abuse, we have 40 years of impact with programs that reach more than 14 million children each year in over 70 countries worldwide in all 50 states. And we're very proud to reach this many children and impact communities around the world. And we know that we couldn't do that without the dedicated educators that deliver our programs each and every day. So thank you all for your efforts to help make our mission a reality, and we look forward to continuing to collaborate our efforts with one another. Committee for Children is best known for the Second Step program, which you may all recognize, that really focuses on helping students become not just better students, but better people. We offer a suite of programs that provide a cohesive foundation for a safe and supportive learning environment with socially, emotionally competent students and positive school climate. Mind Yeti is a program for kindergarten through 5th grade children and their adults to build mindfulness practices that helps calm, focus, and support those SEL skills in the classroom and at home. This is a great program to expand on the Second Step social emotional learning curriculum. For those of you that are not familiar with Committee for Children and our history, since we began in 1979, which is nearly 40 years ago, a lot has happened. Many people ask why our program is called Second Step, so I'd like to share the story behind that with you. The reason the program is called Second Step is because as an organization, Committee for Children first began our work in studying the effects of child abuse and child sexual abuse, and developed our very first program that was called Talking About Touching. Once we launched that program to help prevent abuse from happening to kids, we really wanted to work on helping to prevent children from growing up to becoming abusers themselves by building skills like empathy, self-regulation, and managing emotions. So our first step was to help what was happening to kids now, and our second step was to help prevent it from happening in the future. After Talking About Touching and Second Step were created and revised over the years, we also wanted to pinpoint and teach skills that would help kids as they face a different type of abuse, which is bullying. So our Steps to Respect was created to help address bullying. And as we revised and created the newest edition of the second step that came out in 2011, we decided that many schools want to address all three issues, which brings us to the second step suite: social emotional learning second step program, bullying prevention, and the child protection unit. So why teach social emotional learning? Now that I've provided you with a little bit of information about our organization and how the program and add-on units came to be, I'll go into each of the components in a bit more detail, starting with SEL as a foundation. And to do that, I do want to start with this question: why teach SEL? So please just take a moment to think about the why, and feel free to share your thoughts in the chat box. Just give you a moment to do that. I'm going to assume that most of you who are joining us today have an interest in social emotional learning at some capacity, maybe even have spent time researching or teaching social emotional learning to students already. So for those of you who are familiar, I include this information so that you may use it in your work, being a champion for SEL, and perhaps being tasked with bringing others on board or presenting to a committee. So for those that this question hasn't been asked, the next few slides will help you to see the foundation for why we developed Second Step and some of the research to support this work. To start us off, I want to share with you a video of the what and why of SEL.
There's a lot of talk these days about SEL, social emotional learning. But what exactly is it? Social emotional learning is the process of learning social and emotional skills, and it's just as important as learning reading or math. This learning process is most effective when it begins early and continues through high school. Social emotional skills are essential for success in school, work, and life. With SEL, students learn to manage their own emotions and behaviors, have empathy and show care and concern for others, solve problems effectively, make responsible decisions, and maintain healthy relationships. Students learn to recognize what's happening inside them and to be aware of their emotions, which helps them deal with strong emotions and impulsive behaviors. It helps them stop, take a breath, and think about a situation before acting. Students learn to identify others' emotions and perspectives, which helps them empathize and show compassion, no matter who they are or what their background is. It's not difficult to imagine how this is important in the classroom and in life. Students learn to solve problems in peaceful ways and communicate assertively about what they need or want. This helps them get along with other students and get the help they need from adults. When students learn to make responsible decisions about their lives and their future, things can turn out better. Research shows social emotional learning makes a difference. Students who participate in SEL do better academically, have improved attitudes and behaviors, and act in delinquent or disruptive ways less often. In the United States, students with strong social-emotional competence are twice as likely to earn a college degree and nearly 50% more likely to graduate from high school and have a full-time job by age 25. Just as important, students who are socially and emotionally competent have more friends. This means they're more likely to feel connected to school and do well, and less likely to be left out or bullied. Simply put, by participating in social emotional learning, students learn the skills to succeed in every facet of school and the rest of their lives.
I hope you found that video to be helpful. This is just one of many in a series that is available on our YouTube channel. So please do feel free to share it with your peers, decision makers, community members, and families. So I hope that video helped to really explain the foundation of why social emotional learning is important to really help students to be their best in school and in life. And now I want to transition and share with you a few other resources that help to make the case for teaching SEL. The first resource I'd like to share with you is our nation's thought leader on SEL, the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning. I'm sure you've all heard of CASEL. They are a wonderful resource. If you haven't gone to the CASEL's website, I do recommend you take a look at casel.org for a variety of really great resources. Their work really is to advance the science of SEL, to help schools and districts expand their effective practices, improve policies, and they've created the CASEL guide that helps schools to choose quality programs that fit their needs. So we're proud to be one of the programs that CASEL has endorsed. One of the important things that CASEL has done in the field is to help to define what social emotional competence is and to create a framework for programs to map their work like ours. You can see in the inner circle, the colorful pie pieces do represent the 5 core competencies of self-management, self-awareness, responsible decision-making, relationship skills, and social awareness. When we think about these 5 skills, even just today, no matter where you live or what you do for a job, most likely you've used these skills already several times. Again, just today. And when you think about the people in your life that struggle with getting or keeping a job, forming positive relationships with friends or families, those who struggle in almost anything, it is most likely because they struggle in one or more of these areas versus a technical skill. So Wisconsin is among nearly 20 states working with the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning to expand social emotional learning standards. Wisconsin's new SEL competencies encompass self-management, self-awareness, social awareness, decision-making, and relationship skills, and are written across grade bands from pre-kindergarten to 5th grade and from 6th grade to adulthood. So you can see from the bullet points here too how the second step aligns to the 5 core competencies at a glance. But if you would like a more detailed alignment, you can find that on our website. So that's available for you. Many of you here may be aware of this information, but often members of your community staff or the school board might not be. So this type of information can really help to create buy-in and an appetite for an SEL initiative in your district. It highlights a study that was done in 2011 that was a meta-analysis done looking at 213 studies of school-based universal interventions for social emotional learning. This meta-analysis was a real landmark study because it put numbers to what people in education felt was true. That kids do better in school if they are socially and emotionally supported, and that schools take an active role in helping them build those skills. An 11% gain on academic achievement is significant, whether it's looking at your school as a whole or for an individual child who may really need the support to be their best academically. So with all this being said, having a school-wide, district-wide approach to SEL with an explicit skills instruction program like Second Step in place ensures that students are equipped with a strong set of social emotional skills, and that those same SE skills are being modeled by the adults around them. So if this is happening, you can imagine how it can improve the relationships within all dynamics of the school community, whether it's student-teachers, students with their peers, as well as the relationships formed by teachers and their peers. When you have a strong sense of supportive relationships within the school community, all stakeholders have an increased sense of safety and support in that environment, which ultimately leads to a more positive school climate. I know that's quite a bit of information, but now what we'll do is transition into what is the Second Step program. Again, as questions come up, do feel free to type in the chat box and we will be addressing those towards the end. So what is the Second Step program? The Second Step program for pre-K to 5th grade is a research and evidence-based curriculum that is designed to help promote social and emotional competence and self-regulation by decreasing problem behaviors while increasing students' school success. Based on a number of initiatives districts include in their improvement plans, we offer a suite of curriculum for the elementary grade levels that provide a comprehensive curricula to address social emotional learning, bullying prevention, and the child protection. Having a consistent program school-wide and district-wide is also helpful in achieving effective implementation. So I will briefly touch on the add-on units, which are the bullying and the child protection units, a little bit later, but our main focus today will be our SEL curriculum. To give you a sense of what our kits look like, the early learning to 5th grade classroom kits look like this. You get your large classroom posters, lesson cards, puppets for early learning through 1st grade. You have your teaching materials notebook binder, unit cards, song CDs and DVDs, which can be streamed live from your online resources. And we will talk about the online resources a bit later when we get into what resources are included with our physical kits. What I'll do now is get into the units, the content of our early learning through 5th grade 2nd step program, and then do go into detail of each of the units so you have a sense of what is covered. So our social emotional learning program includes 4 units that are designed to be taught in this order, starting with the skills for learning, empathy, emotion management, and then problem solving. I will also provide examples of how our units align with some of the Wisconsin SEL competencies. And again, those in-depth alignments can be found on the DPI website. And I can also provide that to you if you'd like to reach out to me directly. So the first unit is our skills for learning unit. And here you're teaching your students how to listen, focus, pay attention, being able to use self-talk and be assertive. This image is the image of the large classroom poster that comes with the first unit. And these skills help to align with the early learning grade level of the early learning domain, where learners will be able to display curiosity, risk-taking, and willingness to engage in new experiences. And for example, with the grades 1st through 3rd grade domain, where learners will be able to, something's happening. Where learners will be able to identify and describe skills and or activities they do well, and those with which they need help. I'm so sorry, I don't know what's going on with my screen, but I'm going to go ahead and cancel this. All right. And one of the main ways that the program supports self-regulation is through our Brain Builder games. These are fun games that support some very specific skills called executive function skills, working memory, impulse control, and focusing attention. Throughout the Brain Builders, the overall message is that your brain can get stronger and smarter with practice and effort. So it's taking a growth mindset approach that you can always learn and grow over your whole lifetime. The games themselves have 1 to 2 rules, and they're designed to be played daily, or you can play them several times a week. They're included for grades kindergarten through 3rd grade. The games also include directions on how to make those rules more challenging so that the kids will stay engaged and stretch their skill level. In grades 4 and 5, there are activities that build these skills embedded in their lessons, but it's not via Brain Builder game specifically. So now I'd like to share with you a Brain Builder game in action to give you a sense of what this looks like in the classroom.
I need everyone facing me. Everyone put on your attentoscopes. Attentoscopes on. Let me see. Okay. Now you can take them off. But you're going to focus on who? Me. Okay. So today's Brain Builder is follow along. And it has 2 rules. Rule number 1. Cherry. Watch what I do. And rule number 2, do the same thing. But now I need you to get your own space. Let's move back. Your own space. Okay, and what do we have to do now? You need to? Focus. Listen. Follow directions, okay?
it. We didn't do like this. Hands out.
I see you're all focused. Okay, now we're going to do the follow along, but we're going to do a little bit more challenging for your brain. So that means you need to be focused, okay? And wake up your brain, because if not, you will get lost, okay?
And get very sleepy.
Here we go.
Here we go. A big circle. No, a big circle. A little circle. A little circle. A big circle. Chop, 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 punch, chop.
Okay, guys, give yourself a pat in the back. Okay, let's sit.
So you can see how easy it is to play these games and how engaging it is for the kids. Really simple rules to follow, and we have a number of other videos that are available if you're interested in looking at more of these. Our second, are we on our second unit? Yep. Our second unit is our empathy unit, where we are teaching students to identify and understand feelings. We're also teaching them to be respectful of similarities and differences by showing care and compassion, and then working on those conversation skills, how to be inclusive, how to join groups and make friends, especially if you have new students entering your school and your classroom. These skills help to align with the grades 4th through 5th grade domain, where learners will be able to recognize and label a variety of emotions in their own self and others, and the domain where learners will be able to use perspective taking to predict how their own behavior affects the emotions of others. Our third unit is emotion management. And here we're really teaching students that we feel feelings in our bodies. It's really getting into the science of what happens to our bodies when we're feeling certain strong emotions, how to manage frustrations and anger. Teaching students appropriate calming down strategies, as you'll see on the poster of this image, and managing accusations and disappointments, and test anxiety. And these skills, for example, help to align with the grades 1st through 3rd grade domain, where learners will be able to, with the adult support, demonstrate a variety of strategies to manage those strong emotions. And just to give you an example of a belly breathing exercise in the emotion management, here is a video that you can feel free to follow along with.
Hi, I'm Brent. You know, just like you, I sometimes get mad, frustrated, or excited. And when that happens to me, I use belly breathing to help me calm down. This is how I do it. I put my hands on my belly. I pay attention to my breathing. I take a breath that makes my belly move out when I breathe in, and back in when I breathe out. I breathe in slowly through my nose and out through my mouth. It's like smelling some delicious hot soup and then blowing on it to cool it down.
We can all use some belly breathing exercises once in a while, so I hope you did follow along with that. Our last but not least unit is our problem solving unit, and here we are teaching students how to effectively problem solve, how to play fairly, take responsibility for their own actions, solve classroom problems, and then use those assertiveness skills from the first unit to seek help when they need it. We hear from a lot of teachers that explicitly teach the second step program that they get their instructional time back by explicitly teaching appropriate problem solving steps. So you can see here we teach the acronym STEP, where we're teaching students to say the problem without blame, to think of solutions, explore the consequences, and pick the best solution. So it's really giving the responsibility for students to try to problem solve the best that they can. These skills help to align with grades 1st through 3rd grade domain, where learners will be able to predict how someone else may feel in a variety of situations, and domain where learners will be able to demonstrate positive behaviors as established in the classroom expectations. So now what we're going to do is shift into looking at our 2nd step program for middle school students. Now, middle school, as we know, is a time when academic expectations increase, friendships can become less stable, and it's a time when behavioral and health problems can emerge or worsen, with negative consequences that can last into their future. So it's an incredible time of learning, exploration, and risk. So this is a time when social emotional learning can really make a difference and help students succeed both in school and in life. So the new middle school 2nd step program is a research-based program and a first of its kind SEL curriculum that is modern, web-based, and responsive to the needs of today's students and educators. It offers the latest research in adolescent brain development and social psychology, and it's been refined through multiple pilot programs in classrooms across the country. We launched this in fall of 2017, and the welcome reception from educators and students has been astounding. And now you will have an opportunity to hear from the students themselves.
So glad you guys were all courageous to be here today. We're going to have an opportunity to get to talk about a lot of things, and some of those might be things you've never shared with anyone. We're going to be watching a short video. After we watch the video, we'll be having some questions and opportunity for you to respond.
A couple years ago, I had bullied a kid,
and we started getting really mad at each other. We started having fights a lot. Because my friends are, come on, bro, you gonna take that?
He wanted this girl to feel bad about herself.
I think the most difficult part was I don't think anyone wanted to truly hurt her. I think that bullying has evolved.
If you have a phone, you have social media, nothing is private anymore.
Being different can be bad at middle school because it's easier for people to pick on you.
There were a lot of things that came up in that video. Just wondering what might have come up for some of you in watching that.
In middle school, most of the time you're trying to find out who you really are.
People don't feel safe because they know that they might get in trouble, and the teachers haven't seen that because it happens during passing periods. So if someone doesn't address that, then no one knows about it.
I've learned that if I just say, when I've talked to that person, they've always been nice to me, they almost kind of realize that what they're doing isn't nice to others.
It's kind of a good experience sometimes, to make a mistake because you learn from that. So I'm glad that it happened because I learned from it and I came out of it with a good friend.
I'd like school to be a more accepting place.
I'd like middle school to be less judgmental.
If I could say something to a teacher, I would tell them that it's not all about just being a good teacher, it's about connecting with the students.
I would ask them to really connect with the students so they can help us through hard times.
Be more understanding of your students and what they're going through. Because middle school is a time of change.
I hope that video resonated with you as much as it has with all of us here. You heard from the students, middle school is a time of change, and one of the most important things that they're looking for is that connection with teachers that the 2nd step program can offer. So for each grade, the program is fully loaded with a year of weekly 2nd step SEL skills and lessons. There are nearly 200 advisory activities, program training, professional learning, and an abundance of additional resources, such as lesson plans to extend SEL throughout the day, SEL rubrics, and much more. A principal toolkit is also included with school-wide licenses, offering administrative and implementation resources. The program's lessons, which take approximately 25 minutes each, are projected from a web-based portal and require little prep time. They address 4 key areas of SEL. The first unit is mindsets and goals. Second, values and friendships. followed by thoughts, emotions, and decisions, and then dealing with serious peer conflicts. So these skills, for example, align with the grade 6 through 8th grade domain, where learners will be able to independently use organizational skills and strategies to focus attention in order to work towards short-term personal and/or academic goals. It also aligns with domain where learners will be able to recognize expressions of empathy in society and the community. Also, the domain where learners will be able to do self-reflection on their values and beliefs and how their behaviors relate to those values and beliefs. So next, I'll just give you a quick product tour via this video.
The easy to navigate and easy to teach Second Step Middle School program engages students with relevant, interactive lessons, helps students develop social, emotional skills, and gives teachers everything they need to build a culture of connectedness. The program is web-based. Everything's online, so there are no boxes or notebooks to keep track of. Educators simply go online, project the lessons, and facilitate them. The online portal has 4 sections: Teach, Extend, Professional Development, and with school-wide licenses, a Principal Toolkit. In the Teach section, instructors can preview the material with minimal prep time, access lessons, and view progress. The intuitive interface makes it easy to navigate through the lessons together with students. Lessons cover a variety of topics that address the issues faced by today's middle schoolers. Many lessons feature game-like challenges to engage students. Videos introduce social-emotional concepts in developmentally appropriate ways that lead to dynamic discussions. Real voices let students see and hear people their own age speaking out for themselves and coping with problems in different ways. All lessons include collaborative activities and discussion prompts to get students practicing their social-emotional skills right away. There are also summative assessments for each unit to help teachers evaluate whether the lesson objectives have been met. In the Extend section, advisory activities help you reinforce lesson concepts or build a complete advisory program around second step lessons. Choose from nearly 200 activities based on 14 program themes. Under SEL in Academics, you'll find academic lesson plans, SEL rubrics, academic and behavioral standards alignments, and other useful resources. Extend second step skills to the home through family letters, weekly updates, and the resource website parentingconnect.org, which offers real stories, expert advice, and practical tools to help families communicate, connect, and break through on hot-button topics. The Professional Development section includes a wealth of support materials to prepare educators for delivering the Second Step program. Program Training offers an overview of core concepts and the research base for the lessons, plus teaching tips for successful student learning. There is also a dedicated training module for building a Second Step advisory program. Professional Learning supports educators by helping them reinforce their own social-emotional skills and build a growth mindset, and by providing strategies for positive student-teacher relationships. Both Program Training and Professional Learning are designed with busy schedules in mind, with modular learning experiences that can be completed individually or in a group. We know that a principal's active support is crucial to the successful implementation of the Second Step program. Your school-wide license will unlock the Principal Toolkit, which is loaded with resources to promote, support, and monitor the success of the program throughout the school. With school-wide implementation that builds a culture of connectedness, you'll maximize the impact of the program on school climate and student outcomes. We hope you enjoyed this short tour of the Second Step Middle School program, and we can't wait for you to experience leading-edge social-emotional learning in your classrooms.
All right, now we will get into how to actually teach the Second Step program successfully. Again, if there were any specific questions related to the content for any of our early learning through 8th grade Second Step program, you can type those to the chat box and we will address them. In order to teach the Second Step program successfully, we have to consider professional development and what training materials are included. So there are training materials that are available online on secondstep.org and that are included with the program. For the early learning, there's a staff training toolkit for a facilitator to actually facilitate the training. So all resources are included for that grade level. For the kindergarten through 5th grade, there is an hour-long online interactive training that is split into 3 modules. In the middle school professional development, there's also training and professional learning that's included with the license. The child protection and the bullying prevention online training for all staff is a bit different. It's more robust, but that too is split into 3 modules. And then of course you get ongoing consultation via phone and web-based meetings with us. For any additional professional development ideas or assistance support that is needed, we are here to help with that, so you can always reach out and just ask us. There are 4 core components to implementation with Fidelity that we'll cover. The first being to teach all the lessons, and then practicing those skills daily, reinforcing those skills, and then last but not least, it's important to engage families so that those skills are being used not just in the classroom and the school, but outside in the community and the home as well. So in teaching all the lessons for early learning to 5th grade, they're fully scripted, explicit instructions. There are lesson planning notes that are included for you so that you're not having to do additional work in trying to plan around it. There are engaging activities for skill practice. So in addition to the weekly lessons, there are also daily reinforcement activities that take 5 to 7 minutes to complete. Those daily activities do not need to be scheduled. They can happen naturally whenever there's time, but they are important to help reinforce the lesson of the week for practice. And then there's also academic integration activities included to be able to use those skills in the second step program in other core academic classrooms. The digital middle school 6th to 8th grade lessons, the interface is very intuitive. It's user-friendly and easy to navigate. Lessons are taught directly through the browser, so all the directions are on the screen and allows you to click through to the next slide as you complete a section of that lesson. Scheduling is also very important. So here's a look at the number of lessons and weeks to complete the specific grade level and the length of time for your planning purposes. And this is something that we also work with schools and district leaders to assist with scheduling because everyone's schedule is going to be different, especially when you're starting off with a new program and trying to make that work with the time that you do have available to you. And hopefully that is something that the administrators work with teachers to help fit into their schedules. But again, we're always available to help have those conversations around scheduling and how to make it most effective. So reinforcing the skills, as I mentioned earlier, in addition to the weekly lessons, there are daily activities. Those are the following through activities that are explicit and fully scripted for you. There are also take-home activities that go home every Friday associated with some of the lessons to help further reinforce the skills. And they're called home links, also like homework. It's a way for students to also be able to use some of those skills and with their families, caregivers, whoever that might be, for additional practice outside of the classroom setting. There are reflective writing assessments, book lists, which are very helpful for those times around the holidays when students don't have school for a week or two, giving them something that is still helping to reinforce those SEL skills. And then curriculum connections. In middle school, there are nearly 200 advisory activities in addition to the weekly lessons. There are principal resources, and the family resources are on parentteenconnect.org that you can go to right now. It's available and free for you all to look at and to share. And to briefly touch on the add-on units, the bullying prevention and the child protection unit, I just want to offer some resources on how those units work. So you would register your classroom notebooks for all of your early learning to 5th grade kits. You would complete the online training modules and then teach the lessons to the students. So very simple, fully scripted, explicit instruction. It is designed as an add-on. The bullying prevention unit specifically is designed as an add-on and extension to the second step SEL program, with specific ways to effectively integrate this within the SEL unit. So it's not a standalone curriculum. I just want to clarify that. The bullying prevention online training is split into 3 modules. The first being intended for your principals and program coordinators. The second module training is for all staff to be able to recognize, respond, and report bullying. And then the third module is intended for the staff that will be explicitly teaching the bullying prevention unit. Now, our early learning to 5th grade child protection unit meets the recommendations for Erins Law. I know that's pending in the state of Wisconsin, so maybe stay up to date on whether that is something that might help make that decision for you if you want to add that into your implementation as well, especially if you're looking at the second step suite. Unlike the second step program for the bullying prevention unit, this can be a standalone program, but effective to be implemented with both the social emotional learning and the bullying prevention, as it teaches important foundational SEL skills. The online training for the child protection unit is going to look pretty similar to the bullying prevention unit as well, in that the first module training is intended for your administrators and program directors and coordinators. The second module training is intended for all staff to be able to recognize signs, behaviors of abuse, to respond to it properly and to report it. And then the third module is intended for those staff members that will actually be teaching the child protection unit and also engaging families and helping them to overcome the discomfort. The Child Protection Unit is a mission-based program with a heavy focus on prevention via parents, community, and schools. So our Early Open Often campaign is a microsite for Committee for Children, designed just for parents and family resources to learn about abuse prevention and how to talk to their kids about abuse, specifically sexual abuse. So you can go ahead and jot down earlyopenoften.org website and share that with your peers, with community members, and with families. So now transitioning into what resources are included in addition to getting your physical kit. When you purchase your early learning through 5th grade physical materials, you are provided with an activation code that is both grade and curriculum specific. You simply create your account on secondstep.org following the directions that would be in the teaching materials notebook, and you gain access to the following resources. There's streaming media of the content of the DVDs and or CDs. There are video examples and classroom demos. Specifically, for example, you'll have classroom demonstrations of all the Brain Builder games. You will have some Spanish translations of some of the lessons. Staff training resources will all be found here. Teaching and implementation tools, and then family resources and engagement tools. Some reinforcement tools that are included for the kindergarten through 5th grade principal toolkit, for example. The principals also have access to a toolkit that will provide them with weekly morning scripted announcements, school assembly scripts, staff meeting activities, conversation guides, a Talk It Over tool guide for office referrals, digital tools, and more. This is really truly put in place to help create that school-wide implementation that will be effective and have consistency in language. So here is a quick video from Juliette. She's our Implementation and Partnerships Manager, speaking a bit more on the Principal Toolkit.
The field of social emotional learning has recognized that best practice implementation of second step or any social emotional learning curriculum is very heavily dependent on the leadership of the principal. Committee for Children recognizes the importance of principal leadership, so much so that we have now developed a principal toolkit for the second step program. The Principal's Toolkit is intended to be a very concrete, structured tool that will help a principal go through the entire year of second step along with the classroom teachers who are teaching the program. One of the really neat things about the Principal Toolkit is that it provides tools for the principal to more deeply engage staff in second step content, to engage families in the community
with second step content and to engage students individually as well as at the classroom and school-wide level through assemblies and morning announcements, as well as a tool that helps them with office referrals. And so it gives the principal tools to address all of those various people that they interact with at various levels.
And then last but not least, just want to quickly touch on our Mind Yeti program that we briefly touched on earlier in the presentation. This is a great program to help further reinforce the social emotional learning skills that are taught in the second step program. And they can be used as brain breaks, both in the school and home settings. They're really just short, guided mindfulness sessions to help kids calm down, focus attention. There's even a session around going to sleep for parents to be able to utilize that in the home setting. So it's free to sign up at mindyeti.com, and you'll gain access to a number of free sessions. So try it out, sign up for it, and let us know what you think. Happy to answer any questions around that. And I want to end our time here today sharing a video that helps to empower you as educators. And as you're watching this video, if there are any questions that come up, you can feel free to type those in the chat box, and Beth will share those momentarily. So please enjoy this video.
The idea that I can improve kids' lives with respect to social emotional learning makes me feel valuable. I love literature, but I didn't get into teaching because I love books. I got into teaching because I love kids.
We're impacting the world as a teacher, and I think that's great responsibility, and it's great to see the impact that we do have on these students.
We are seeing an increase in academics and academic success, as well as a decrease in negative behaviors. It's given us an opportunity to have those conversations with teachers about when would you send a behavior to the office versus what you can handle in your classroom. And it's empowered them to be able to handle things within their own classroom setting without disrupting that academic environment.
It gives them confidence that they have a set of tools and capacities to approach kids who struggle.
With the kids having better behavior, you're not stopping your lessons every 5 seconds and getting them back on track. You can get a whole lesson in. You can then get to the fun stuff, the experiments or the hands-on in every lesson.
The kids are embracing the songs. Kindergarten teachers were saying the kids love the belly song. And so there's just fun things like that that make it fun to learn.
Just forming these relationships that you know in some way you're changing these students' lives and you're really making a difference.
Establishing that relationship is so crucial because a lot of time these kids, they get a little older, you know, they push the boundaries. They don't look at the teacher as that person that they'll listen to everything about.
I carry my feelings on my shoulders sometimes, so if I ever get mad, I stop and breathe, and it helps me calm myself down.
I feel really proud if I see them use these skills outside, or they tell me, oh, I used this at home today, you know. That shows me that they're going to be a good citizen as they grow up.
We need to think about what kind of world we want to build and what kind of future we want for the students across the country so that we build toward a world that we all want to be a part of.
None of it would work if it weren't for the teachers. Because of their work and dedication and their belief in the systems that we're building, that's why our school is the school that it is today.
All right. Well, I do want to share with you this information. Our staff of client relations professionals are here to support your implementation planning efforts and to support staff who teach social emotional learning, the second step lesson specifically. You can contact us anytime via email at support@secondstep.org, or give us a call or visit our website. which is secondstep.org, to learn more about our programs, to register for future webinars that we offer, or to get started with a purchase in our online store. I do want to thank you for your patience, as there were some pop-ups and tech issues, which happens during any live presentation, but appreciate your patience. I look forward to continuing to work with you in your efforts to bring SEL to your students. So it's been an honor spending this time with you today, and I look forward to hearing from you. And I want to just take the time again and thank you, and to help answer any questions that you have. So Beth, do you want to take it from here?
Sure. So if you have any questions, I believe you can either unmute yourself, or you can raise a hand, or you can put something in the chat box. This is your opportunity to ask Yvette, you know, is there, what are the costs for this? What does the school license mean? Is it possible to do this program if you don't have 25 minutes of dedicated time? What are your questions about the program? It's your opportunity.
And I'm trying to view the chat box. I think I have to stop sharing to be able to do that.
You should be able to. You can share and see the chat box. It won't show it.
Okay.
How much is the school-wide middle school license?
So our program really varies. We offer individual license pricing as well as school-wide license pricing, and they're all varied from 1 to 3 and 5-year license options. So if it comes to questions around pricing, I think the best thing to do is to reach out to us. And Beth, you can share my information, my email and my phone number with people directly so they can contact me. We can always put quotes together as well to determine what the overall cost would be.
Are you able to give like a range?
Yeah, so for example, 1-year license for an individual would be $199 per grade level, versus a school-wide would be $24.99. So when you're looking at school-wide, it can vary between $24.99 to $7,999. So it really depends on how many individual licenses and if that's going to be more cost-effective versus school-wide licenses.
Great, thank you for that.
Yeah, and that will be the same for our elementary grade levels as well. We offer bundle pricing versus individual kit pricing as well.
And then a question is, do you have a high school curriculum?
You know, I'm glad you asked that. We're very much excited to have that on our radar. We are in the very, very early stages of thinking about a high school program, and we'll start working on that here in the near future. But I can tell you that won't be available anytime soon, but it's definitely something that we are going to expand on for the future.
Okay. Other questions that you have? What are you finding that teachers think is the most challenging thing to do with the curriculum?
I think one of the most challenging things that stands out and that I talked about a little bit earlier was scheduling. So if your school doesn't have dedicated time for SEL in your weekly schedules, and the principal is sort of leaving that up to the teachers, for example, to figure out how to fit into their schedule, I know that's a big challenge. So those conversations really have to happen with not only your school administrators, but also your district administrators. If that's a priority, and if so, how are we working collaboratively to actually fit that into your schedule? The program itself is very easy to implement, so there's rarely ever challenge around actually implementing the curriculum and using the resources.
Okay. And I see you have the chat box up. Were you able to see the question from Catherine about annual costs or cost to update?
Yep, so thanks for asking that. The only additional cost to update will be for your middle school, because it's a digital program, it's license-based. For the elementary, the physical kits that are available to you with the access to online resources are one-time purchase. For the middle school, depending on what license you do purchase, whether it's a 1, a 3, or a 5-year, you'd have to renew it at some point if that's what you choose to do.
the middle school curriculum, the older one used to have bullying as part of the curriculum lessons. And I know that there's a separate add-on for bullying for elementary. Is bullying addressed in the middle school curriculum?
Yeah, it's not a specific unit or a lesson that touches on bullying. However, some of those advisory activities do include those activities around bullying. So if that was something that was happening, you can pull from one of the advisory activities and do that particular activity around that.
Oh, that's nice. Then you got another question about the middle school curriculum.
Yep, I'll go ahead and read that. So yes, the last version of the middle school was in 2008, and we updated that in 2017. The elementary curriculum was updated last in 2011. Does the standard have assessments? There are no separate kits when it comes to assessment, so all the implementation tools and resources that are available come with the purchase of either the license or the elementary grade level kits. So you're not having to purchase anything separate. Now, if you're looking for something like an assessment tool for your district, like Panorama, for example, that's obviously something you'd have to purchase separately through that third party.
And did you just see the next question pop up about cultural relevance?
Yeah, cultural relevance. The second step program really teaches those foundational skills that are really important for cultural acceptance. So those inclusive communication, working on respecting similarities and differences, all that content can be embedded in looking at your initiatives around cultural relevance. So if there are specific questions that you have regarding what content we have available that addresses this, definitely let me know, because that's something I could reach out to our program developers and our researchers to get more details around. Is there any pre-post test either for individual lessons or for the overall program? For our elementary curriculum, we do have summative and formative assessments. They're not intended as pre and post. However, we do have teachers that use it as such. And so it's a great way to be able to determine where students' understanding are with those units and the lessons that are covered within those units. And that is included with the online resources when you purchase the curriculum. The middle school curriculum, we're working on looking at assessments maybe down the road. We do have some implementation tools, again, to help. Additionally, what we do have with the middle school that's a bit different than what we've had in the past, aside from it being completely digital, is that we do have the ability for staff to be able to see how far along they are in their implementation. You can use some of those advisory activities to help students further practice some skills if you're noticing there are areas that seem to be challenging or need additional support. Those advisory activities are really put in place to help with that.
Yvette, when it was in the presentation, when you were showing the principal toolkit for middle school, it also looked like the administrator would be able to monitor how many of the lessons were getting completed in classrooms. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes. So with that middle school principal toolkit, it allows the principals to be able to see where their teachers are individually with their implementation, what percentage of the lesson has been completed, and to be able to, that's going to be more for accountability purposes and to be able to work with the staff if they are struggling to complete the lessons to figure out why, along with principals having access to the content online.
But it's also good to know that if you're looking at skills, outcome skills for kids, because if they're not getting the curriculum, right?
Absolutely.
So it's good to have all of that. Other questions from anybody? Do you anticipate the K-5 curriculum being updated soon, anytime soon?
That's a great question. I honestly don't have any information I can share on that, but our researchers are always doing the best they can to see what's needed to improve our curriculum. That's always something that we have done, as we're currently on our 4th edition. So I would say for any updates like that, do check on our website. I will mention, however, before I forget, and while you ask this question, 2 things that we do have coming down the road in the near future. We're looking at a program for out of school as an extension to the Second Step program, so I can share that information with you. I don't have any more details on that, but that's coming. As well as SEL for adults is another thing that we're looking to have in the near future. So I would say keep your eyes peeled, check our website, and we will probably be sending information via emails on anything that, once we have dates and specifics on those that are coming down the road.
Excellent. Other questions? Well, thank you everybody for staying a little bit over, and thank you so much, Yvette, for doing this session with us. I think you gave a really great overview of what the curriculum is, what's included, the resources that people have. I just want to let you know that if you are interested in talking to an educator who is using any of these curriculum, that you can let me know. That Yvette has agreed to identify some educators who would be willing to talk to you. So we really find that there's a lot of value in being able to connect educators with other educators who are doing particular practices to discuss that. So please feel free to send me an email. I'll put my email in the chat box if you feel that you would like to talk to somebody about this curriculum, and I will get some information from Yvette.
Thank you all so much again for your time, and I do want to also include my email if you do want to connect with me directly and interested to learn more. If you have any specific questions around the content pricing, I'm happy to assist with that. Thank you, Beth, for giving me this opportunity to present, and we do look forward to continuing to collaborate with one another.
And thank you for agreeing to be the first to go.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Yvette.
You have
Everybody,
a great day.
Signing off. Have a great rest of the afternoon, and I'm so happy to see you all here.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.